What was the weird phone that my mysterious twin gave me? What impossible thing did I see in the hall? What happens next? Find out in Chapter 3, starting right now!
Parallel Parker entered the Parkerverse. Chapter 3. The something that Parker saw in the hallway wasn't actually a something. It was two somethings, Parker thought. Maybe more. It was hard to tell because while they were definitely somethings, they looked a lot like nothings. They were colorless and shapeless, just like nothings. Nobody seemed to notice them, just like nothings, and much like nothings, you could see right through them as if they weren't even there. But they were there. They were patches in the air where everything was just a tiny bit out of focus. And it wasn't just Parker's eyes because the somethings moved like they were thinking. And nothings didn't think. Parker froze in place, trying to focus on what couldn't be focused on. The hall was crowded, and yet nobody else seemed aware of the somethings at all. She wondered if she was seeing things. Except that she couldn't really see them, so technically she was not seeing things, or seeing not things.
Do you see that?
She asked Wally.
No.
He replied quickly.
I mean, yes, but no.
At any other time that would have made no sense to her, but she knew exactly what he meant.
What is that?
He asked. What the other Parker had said echoed in her brain.
They'll be coming,
She had said.
They're probably already here.
Parker backed away from the blurry somethings, pushing Wally backward with one hand. She didn't know if these were the things other Parker had been talking about, but they were the second weird thing that had happened today, so she guessed that they were connected to the first weird thing. As she backed away, they shifted toward her. So she backed away faster and they sped up as well. So she backed away faster still, and suddenly they were racing toward her and she thought it might be best to turn and run. She didn't get the chance. Because other Parker reappeared out of a storage closet door halfway between Parker and the blurry spots. She skidded into the middle of the hall right in the path of the things, and just stood there for a second to make sure they noticed her. And when they shifted their path toward her, she turned halfway to look back at Parker, and Parker could dimly see her own face shaded inside the hoodie, her eyes silently saying, "Move!" And then other Parker dashed down a connecting hall toward the cafeteria, and all of the blurry objects surged after her, shoving a few befuddled students face first into their lockers and scattering a trail of fluttering math tests and geography homework behind them. Wally said exactly what Parker was thinking, which was,
What?
But she didn't answer him, because something else that other Parker had said was now screaming at her in her mind.
Protect it.
She grabbed Wally's arm and dragged him away down the hall, shoving the phone and all the danger that came with it into her backpack as she went. Parker didn't know how she managed to pay attention for the rest of the day. The answer really was that she didn't. She couldn't recall a single word spoken by a single teacher for the entire afternoon. She spent the whole time nervously wringing her hands on her desk, watching the door for any blurry spots trying to blur their way through, and generally not doing any kind of learning at all. And always, she had one foot pressed against her backpack on the floor to make sure it was still there, and nobody had tried to take the mysterious phone out of it. But neither the blurry spots nor other Parker ever reappeared. She didn't remember the walk home either, but somehow she got there, and Wally with her. And now they were in Parker's living room with the phone on the coffee table between them. Her dad wasn't home from work yet, so it was just them and Pomksy, her tiny dog who barked at everything. Right now, he was barking at a lamp in the other room, loudly telling it that it had offended him somehow. Parker and Wally sat on the floor and stared at the phone, unsure what to make of it.
So,
Wally said after a long time of staring.
Are you going to make a call?
Who would I call?
Parker replied.
You're the only person I'd call, and you're right here. Plus, you don't have a phone.
My parents say I'm not responsible enough to have one.
Wally said sadly.
Just because I've never managed to keep a pet alive.
Parker drummed her fingers on the table next to the phone, thinking, who do people call, she wondered, when they don't have any friends? The answer came to her quickly.
I know,
she yelped. She tapped on the phone's display. It didn't do anything, so she spun it around on the table, hunting along its edges for a power button. It had no buttons at all.
Maybe it's voice-activated,
Wally suggested. It was worth a try. Phone, Parker said. Nothing. so maybe it had another name. She'd have to try everything.
Telephone, phony-woney, phone-a-rooney, phone-alona, ding-dong. You there? Phone thing.
Are you talking to me?
The phone suddenly said. Parker leaped backward, startled. Wally dove behind the couch, wanting no more part of this. Parker guessed that he was lying flat on his face with his hands over his head like bombs were falling. Parker finally said,
Yes.
Then you could call me by my name.
The phone had a calm, smooth voice that reminded Parker of a TV weather forecaster telling you it was going to be warm out, so you had lots to look forward to. It was reassuring. But at the same time, by the tone of its voice, the phone seemed to think that Parker should have already known its name. She didn't want to offend it by not knowing, so she guessed.
Phony McPhoneface.
It was a terrible guess, and she knew it immediately.
My name is Adam.
The phone said.
It stands for Automated Digital Assistant.
Parker ran the letters through her mind. It didn't quite add up. Wally asked the question for her from behind the couch.
What does the M stand for?
I added the M because I don't want to be called Ada.
The phone said.
Okay.
Parker said.
Adam it is. So why are you here?
I'm sorry. I don't understand the question.
Parker thought about how to make it clearer.
Who was that person who gave you to me? And why did she look like me?
I'm sorry. I've been powered down for some time, so I do not know who gave me to you.
Okay,
Wally tried.
where do you come from?
Like most electronic devices, I come from a factory.
Parker felt her frustration rising. She didn't know if Adam was trying to be difficult or if they were just asking the wrong questions. She tried another direction.
So, you make calls, right?
That is one of my many functions.
Cool.
Parker said, feeling like she was getting somewhere.
Parker, the other Parker, said that it was important to the universe that I have you. So I should call somebody important to the universe, right?
Parker wasn't exactly certain about the logic, but still felt like she was onto something.
Who would you like to call?
The phone replied. She was going to call the most important thing she knew of in her universe. It all made sense, sort of.
Adam, call the pizza place.
There was a brief pause, but only for half a second. Then Adam's display lit up softly with a little animation of two smiling phones talking to each other with some zigzaggy lightning bolts floating across the space between them.
Calling.
Adam said. Parker wasn't sure exactly what she had accomplished, other than just making a phone do the one thing all phones were supposed to be able to do. But she still felt pretty good about the step forward. Perhaps she was helping the universe, preventing some kind of universe-destroying explosion or something. And maybe there would be pizza, which would be a plus. After a few seconds, the little phone animation went away, and the display went dark for a second. The phone made a soft bong sound to indicate that it had connected, and then the display lit up again with an image, and Parker could not believe what she was seeing. No, she couldn't accept what she was seeing. It was so incredible, so staggeringly impossible that her knees gave out even though she was already sitting, and her entire mind exploded and then put itself together again just so it could take another look and explode again. On the display was a live video of a person, but only sort of, because this person was impossibly made of pizza. It was mostly human-shaped, but it had cheese for skin, dripping stringy mozzarella, and everywhere across its surface was pepperoni. Its eyebrows were strips of green pepper, and its hair was mushrooms, and its clothes were baked crust that cracked and crumbled as it moved. And Parker was pretty sure that the gray thing on the side of its nose was an anchovy. And as impossible as it seemed that such a person could exist, it seemed even more impossible that it could speak.
Hello?
It said. And the voice, even though it sounded like it was flowing between strands of stringy cheese, also sounded awfully familiar. It sounded like Parker. Parker turned away in horror and blindly jabbed at the phone with all her fingers on both hands, hoping that one of them would hit the hang-up button. And one of them must have, because she heard the phone make a soft gong noise, and when she looked back, the display had gone dark again.
What was that?
Parker shrieked.
That was a pizza person, and she sounded like me.
None of it made any more sense coming out of her mouth than it had when she was looking at it. It had been a pizza person, definitely a pizza person. That was wrong on so many levels. Adam's voice remained as calm and soothing as before, like he saw pizza people every day and they were nothing to get freaked out about.
You said to call the pizza place. So I called Universe 37761-998, also known as the pizza universe.
Wait.
Wally said. He was getting weirdly excited, which Parker hoped meant that he understood some of this. He leaped back onto the front of the couch and leaned in to speak to Adam.
Wait.
He said.
Waiting.
Adam said evenly.
Wait.
Wally said again. He looked like he was trying to do a jigsaw puzzle in his head and all of the pieces were blank.
So you're a phone that calls different universes?
That is correct.
How many?
I can connect with Parkers in an infinite number of parallel universes.
Wally looked at Parker, his face stuck somewhere weirdly between horror and glee.
So there's an infinite number of Parkers?
Correct.
Adam replied.
Plus or minus 6.
Something in Parker's brain was urgently saying no to her. No, this can't possibly be true. No, there's only one Parker. No, there aren't any other universes. No, we're not getting pizza. Suddenly, Parker found that she didn't want any of this to be happening anymore. She folded her arms.
That's stupid,
She said. She didn't know if it was stupid or not, but she said it anyway.
There's no such thing as parallel universes.
I assure you there are.
Adam said.
Do you wish to see them?
No.
Parker said.
Yes.
Wally said at the same moment. Wally was closer to the phone and his voice was louder, so Adam listened to him and not to Parker. The display lit up again, brighter this time, pure white with a glow so intense that it grew like a solid object high into the air above the table. And as Parker watched with astonishment and growing terror, the glow tore a hole open in the air, a gaping gash of impossible blackness like a rip in a blanket. And Parker could feel a force pulling her toward it, an invisible pull that picked up a few pieces of stray popcorn on the carpet and sucked them into the rip. She tried to resist, even holding onto the table for help, but Wally whooped with glee and grabbed her arms, yanking her with him as he and Parker and Adam were all lifted as if by a whirlwind and drawn headfirst into somewhere.
Don't miss the next Parker-tastic chapter of Enter the Parkerverse. Like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Or, if you don't want to wait, all 3 parallel Parker books are available right now on Amazon and Kobo. Look for links in the show description.